Hey, Chris, do you hear the feedback?
6:04, Huntley Community School District 158, Committee of the Whole meeting. Roll call, please.
Mr. Craddy?
Here.
Mr. Guerin?
Here.
Mr. Gentry? Mr. Quagliano?
Here.
Mrs. Melendi?
Here.
Mr. Troy? Mrs. Myarino? Here.
Quorum. Second is the Pledge of Allegiance. Who's from the high school?
Good evening. While our crew comes on in, we have a great team from our special education department at the high school who is just an awesome group of young people. I don't want to steal any thunder because I know Ms. Brown is going to share a little bit about them and why they are here representing the high school today. So I'm going to introduce Ms. Brown.
Hi, I'm Christy Brown, and these students are from Huntley High School. They're freshmen through juniors, and we are so honored to be here to say the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'm going to throw it over to them so they could introduce themselves. Here.
Hi, I'm Bella, and I'm a freshman.
What's your name?
Tegan?
And what grade are you in?
10.
Very good.
Ollie, 10.
I'm Patrick. I'm sophomore.
Very good.
My name is Mark. 11th grade.
Very good. So thanks again for having us, and we are ready to do the pledge. I'm going to come closer so you're in the microphone. Ready? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, Mark and Patrick, you want to come over here? Perfect. Perfect. I'm going to take one for Dr. Buellen. There's on up too. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Nice job, guys. Thank you for the opportunity. You did great.
Okay. Item is academic.
All right, thank you. So as we begin one of our favorite board meetings of the year, we recognize our staff for years of service and our retirees. I want to actually start because we do this week intentionally because Teacher Appreciation Week. And so in reflecting on this, achieving our motto of all students always, is something that we believe in Huntley 158. What unifies us and aligns us in the work that we do. It's not a destination that is achieved. It's actually just a journey that we may never ultimately get to, but we strive to live that way in our work each day. And there are some truly exceptional things that are occurring in our school district on a daily basis because of the people who come working in here every single day. And I think if you ask people what makes Huntley 158 special, the answer that you're going to most often receive is it's the people that are here that always set us apart. The people that we get to spend our work lives with, and oftentimes our entire careers. And there aren't very many people that start and end in the same district or the same workplace after an entire career. But we're coming up on in a few years, we'll be hitting about 100 retirees from those boom years that have spent their entire career here. And fortunately, to spend a little time with a few of our retirees this evening. So for this reason, we love nights like this. As we kick off this most favorite board meeting, I want to share appreciation for all of our staff. A little video that Ms. Lemoyne's office put together to celebrate Teacher Appreciation Week at the board level and to say thank you. You'll hear a few thank yous to some very specific people, but the general message is for all of our staff. So happy Teacher Appreciation Week and thank you for all that you do.
Dr. I'm going to have our 25-year recognition in the hallway. We're going to have them come in so they can be visited.
Perfect.
I'd just like to say thank you for, always being an open door and willing to talk and always willing to kind of help students. I'd just like to say thank you to all of them for, always having my back on things and being willing to give me advice, and that's really helped me throughout the school year.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson, for always worrying about his students.
And for always taking care of us and needing help.
Mrs. Gallion taught me, she put a lot of knowledge in this brain, and Mr. Tamales taught me a lot more of Spanish and my vocabulary in Spanish, and I just want to thank them a lot.
My favorite teacher is Miss Vaness, and I love her because she makes new art stuff and tells us what we do.
All the teachers we have been amazing for us. We could not have been here and known what we have without them. They made a huge difference.
So I wanted to say thank you to Ms. Sharkey for always being there and motivating me to pursue whatever passions that I have, whether it's creating a club or sticking with me while I finish my capstone project. You're a true inspiration to me. I definitely want to be like you when I'm older, and I know that the world is a better place because you're here. So thank you so much, Ms. Sharkey, for all 4 years of a great experience.
Thank you, Mrs. Vaness, for being so fun in art class.
I would like to say thank you to Ms. Martins because she is starting a new program and that is very stressful, but she's also doing a fantastic job of it because every single time I've met with her or talked to her, she's always so sweet and she is really a nice human being and I love her. So thank you.
My favorite thing about my teacher is that she always includes others and that she always takes care of people.
Thank you to Ms. Naraki because she's nice and she helps me with my work when I need it. And she's a good talker.
Favorite thing about Miss Najewski is she laughs so much.
Peter, Mr. Marsh, they're my two teachers this year, and then last year I had Mr. Thornley and Mrs. Gilliland. They gave me wonderful recommendations and they really made me love learning and love coming to class each day. They were such amazing teachers.
My favorite teacher is Mrs. Kawe. I love her so much because she makes me smart.
I would give a shout out to Ms. DeFrancesco, allowing us to really just expand from, these past 3 years that were kind of chaotic and crazy. It was really helpful to have somebody there that would, allow for this for us to experiment and for us to really just seek our passions through hard times like that. And so that, for me, I know is, I'm extremely grateful. So thank you.
I am thankful for Mrs. Gabbard because she teaches us great songs.
I'm thankful for Mrs. Moran for helping me out all year long, for all the literacy and every single thing I needed.
Thank you, Miss Kent. You're the best. We love our teachers!
Awesome. Thanks, Ms. Lemoyne, for putting that together. Good evening, board. We're here tonight to recognize those staff members who have reached 25 years and retirement. Dr. Rowe alluded to down the road some high numbers, and we've had to kind of peel this back. We used to have 20 years and 15 years here, I believe. And if you'll see in your packet, I believe we've got at the 20-year celebration this year, 53 folks, and then 51 at the 15. And as you go down the line, you can see the folks we're going to be recognizing. Cabinet will be starting their tour tomorrow here on Square Barn campus, and we'll be going around to classrooms and offices and handing out those recognition awards. So something that's very exciting for us. So the next 3 Fridays we'll be hitting all 3 of the campuses and having those celebrations with, hopefully with the kids and the teachers in the classroom if the timing is right. So the first group we brought in tonight are staff that are celebrating their 25th year with the district. So 25 years, we'll have a certificate and also a gift for them. So we're going to get started here. First up is going to be Cindy Fuhrer. That just set the tone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Also celebrating 25 years, Brenda Condi.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have this also. Oh, they also get their 25-year pin. So the folks are collecting their pins. Usually you see them on their young badges. So they got their bling too.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you.
Also celebrating 25 years, Karen Parshus.
Thank you.
Celebrating 25 years, Michelle Roopsom.
Thank you. Thank you.
Also celebrating 25 years, Brandy Swanson. There you go.
All right, we have our last 25-year recipient, someone we actually lost this year. Mrs. Hoyt passed away this year from a recurring battle with breast cancer, a battle she fought vigorously for a very long time. She joined the team at Huntley High School when there were only 2 PE teachers. She and Mr. Slattery were the PE department, and she's been keeping in the line ever since. As our high school grew up, they had Mrs. Hoyt modeled the way for not only the PE department, but the entire building. She was an educator I respected, and a drive to evolve physical education to not just roll out the ball. She held them accountable to a very high standard, They met it. This wasn't supposed to happen. We've been working our way through this, but 25 years. It's a big deal. We're blessed that Phil and Hannah are here to accept it for us.
Thank you, Dr. Rowe. We have our retirees queued up out here in the hallway. Let's have them come on in. Let's see if we got room real quick. Our tradition has been when we recognize our retirees, we have the building principal or the direct supervisor come up and say a few words. So Ms. Happel told me she wanted to go first tonight. All right, there's something with the alphabet on here, so you get to go first.
All right. Both, I do both of them at the same time. Yeah. Okay. Merle and Marina, come join me up here. All righty. Yes, I will be first. So I'm super excited to announce the retirement of two incredible employees. So first I will speak of Marina. So Marina Allen has been a primary grade teacher in our district for 17 years. She began her career at Chesapeake, teaching 8 years in second grade. And then she also experienced 1 year in first grade. And then she found her home at Martin in third grade and has spent her time in there. So thank you so much for that. Marina is a patient, kind person, as well as a patient and kind teacher. She lets her students lead conversations with curiosity, and that gets a nice conversation going and engagement in her classroom that is priceless for her students. Her humor and kindness and calming personality is something that will not be forgotten here at Martin. She will certainly be missed by our Martin community, and thank you for all that you do for our students. Tomorrow morning. I'm sorry. Merle, come on over, Merle. So Merle has been a staple in our special ed program in District 158 for 12 years. Within that time, she has worked at Conley, correct me if I'm wrong, Chesapeake, Heinemann, Huntley High School, and then she's finishing her years at Martin with me. She has been a paraprofessional in one role or another, and her passion for working with our neediest students is something that is evident every day. Her empathy for students, combined with her incredible sense of humor and her willingness to jump in and help whenever she is needed, will be hard to replace. She will truly be missed, not only by Martin staff, but by all of District 158. And I want to end this with, and I had shared this with her husband, she's already asking how she can full-time sub for next year. Thank you, Merle.
We will switch you to sub Saturday. Ms. Henson had her hand up in the back. She wanted to go next. So welcome Ms. Henson to the microphone.
I have to do what you have to do. So good evening. It's my honor to pay tribute to Denise Ferris, who is our strategy ed and self-contained classroom teacher at Chesapeake Elementary in District 158 for the past 17 years. With being at Chesapeake for 17 years, there have to be 17 million reasons that are special to Denise. If she had to choose one, it would be her love of all things Chesapeake. As Denise states, you know how we might all complain sometimes about getting up to come to work or when it's Monday again. The thing about Chesapeake I will always remember the most is that once you walk into the door of your classroom or down the hallways, that all goes away. And you know what? She is right. And this perfectly sums up the qualities of Denise's huge heart, her extreme passion about her students, and just simply being the best in all situations. She will miss her peers who are very special to her and her students' display of love, kindness, and mischief, which all in the same moment brings warmth and joy to her heart. At the end of announcements each day, I always tell students and staff that they belong here, they matter, and that they are enough. Denise, you will be missed dearly by all. You will always belong to Chesapeake and D158, matter to us, and be enough no matter where your next adventure takes you. With that said, we wish you much happiness in your future, spending time with your grandma, being a grandbaby, growing up with your grandbaby, Sadie. Thank you, Denise, and happy retirement.
Dr. Beelan, go next.
So I'm going to call up Ms. Lana Johnson to come stand right here. She has a very large cheering section right here in the front row. Maybe. She just asked if I was going to make her cry. I don't know. So Lana has been with us since 2006 and has been an English teacher at the high school during her time here in the district. And you see, the legacy, I always talk to our students about leaving a legacy and leaving a legacy in their footprint in the high school. And you see, the legacy of a person is about the richness of an individual's life, including what the person has accomplished as well as the impact that they have had on people. And let me tell you, Ms. Johnson has had an impact that will leave a legacy at Huntley High School and permeate through the walls of that building. There are kids that will seek her out on a regular basis to talk with her, to connect with her, to even accept a hug, whether it's even a student or an adult. And I will tell you, the hugs that Ms. Johnson gives, and COVID I know was a challenge for her because it was one of those from a distance hugs, but just her presence, from being a founding teacher of an English 4 class, to completely changing the way that she teaches in the last few years of her time in the district and becoming a founding member of our competency-based education program called Vanguard Vision. And then ending her time this year by closing out Vanguard, or closing out the growth of Vanguard by creating the competency-based capstone class for our seniors and leading that class through their first presentations back in December. This lady here, the list can go on, but it is absolutely amazing, the work that she does every single day. Retirement is just a long coffee break, real long coffee break. And I know that you will come back and visit us, and our students will miss you. We will miss you, but I know that you are, your heart, as big as it is, will always have a place at Huntley High School. I love you, we care about you, and we are here to celebrate you tonight. There come the tears, I know. You're a hugger.
For long-term stuff.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Other long-term stuff.
Dr. Beelan always makes me feel old. He's up here scrolling through his speech on his iPhone, and I got a pen and a piece of paper that I'm going through right now, so I got to catch up. Well, we have one more retirement to celebrate this evening. We have 2 more retirements to celebrate this evening. You count them because the gifts are out there. So Mrs. Moen is next. Here we go. We are 29.
Come on up here. I told her today that I had on comfy shoes, but that I would wear my heels tonight because she is always dressed to the nines, no matter what, always. Well, it is my pleasure to talk to you tonight about Sarah. She has been in the district for 26 years. I've known her and worked with her the last 7 of those years, and we've had so many fun laughs and memories and dress-up days, and when you're with 5, 6, and 7-year-olds, you've got to be silly. So Sarah began, well, she and her husband Mike moved to Huntley in 1994, right? Mm-hmm. And their 3 kids went through Huntley schools. Two of her daughters are here tonight. And she started as a lunch resource supervisor and at North School, right? And was a secretary at South and at Martin. Then she became a 12-month administrative assistant at Conley and finally landed at McCaven, where I've had the pleasure to work with her. So she's got lots of great memories. And so when I asked her, she said there's just so many, it's really hard to choose. It's the people, I think, that she thinks about the most. Apparently there used to be concerts and dress-up days where principals would dress like Hannah Montana. I don't know, Scott Iddings, I think I could see you doing something like that. Yeah, I could totally see that happening. But more recently, we brought on a friend of Sarah's in our office as well, Diana, and they've had a good time together also. I think my favorite is watching you dress up as Thing 1 and Thing 2. That was my favorite. I've seen that picture a lot. What you're going to miss are the people, I think, the most, and that's what we're going to miss about you. All the teachers come in and go to Sarah, probably first for just about everything. Sarah, hey, can you get me that? Sarah, what do you think? Do you think we can make that happen? And just the relationships that you have with people. But we're so excited for the times that you have ahead. There's lots of parties to be had. She needs like the next day to recover because of the big family and all the meals that you make, but also the traveling that you're going to get to do. So we're really excited for you, and we thank you for everything.
Feel the show.
Thank you.
That Hannah Montana idea, Mr. Iddings. On record, recorded forever. Miley Cyrus, you could come in like on a wrecking ball. I'm not that old, Dr. Veland. See that? I got you. You can make those references still. Okay, now we are down to the last retirement. I called Rich today and told him he'd be saying a few words, and he asked if there was going to be a timer on him. I said no, nothing would be beeping. So here we go. Ready. Mr. Reed.
Thank you, Dr. Zier, and thank you, Huntley Board, for giving me this opportunity. Mary? I guarantee you're going to cry. So one of my greatest privileges probably coming to Huntley was to get to come to a new school district and transition. And while I'm learning the school district, I got to get someone who not only was born in Huntley and went to school in Huntley, but just bleeds Huntley, and she's been here forever. So thank you, Mary, so much for making my first couple years, my first 3 years, transitioning here so smooth and so easy. There was almost no one in the district office building she didn't know, so it was easy for me to get to know everyone through her, and she just really made that transition so smooth. On top of that, my new assistant I found has a very welcoming phone line straight to Mary, and they talk frequently, and so Mary devotes some of her retirement time still caring and making sure that my department is running very well in her absence. So I can't thank her enough for all her contributions. She's done a phenomenal, wonderful job. A little history about Mary besides growing up here. She got to go to school here. Her first cook job in our department was at the old Huntley High School building, which is no longer there. and then she transitioned out to the high school that we have right now. A little bit of timeline, Mary started cooking in a district when we used to satellite meals in our district to other schools and had one school that cooked. So that was a little timeline ago, but she's went through that. She's had the privilege to support and partner with 3 different directors over her 18 years at district office. And I know that if they had the privilege and luxuries that I had over the last 3 years, she was an important part of their success as well. So if anyone ever gets a chance to meet her out in the streets, talk to her about some of the tour downtown where some of our school buildings people are named after that used to live there and grew up there. It's phenomenal. I felt like she was a tour guide for Huntley, let me tell you. But anyways, again, the board and the school district should be as honored that she was here as I was. Thank you very much.
We celebrated Mary's retirement earlier in the year. I can't remember who had the idea with the Post-its. Who's taking credit? Dr. O gets credit for that. Oh, that's right. Mary on the last day of work earlier this year parked in Dr. O's spot. 4 spots. Took up everything out here.
It was a bucket list thing.
Hey. Parking spot, man. Yeah. I just kept driving when I saw it. I didn't want to know who it was.
You inspired me.
Yeah. So Dr. O came up with a cool activity with Post-its on the windows only, where folks left some notes for Mary, and I figured you did, and so she left that day. She got surprised with that out there. So Mary's not only, we celebrated her retirement already, but this is also her 25th year, so we have her 25th year award too. All right.
Thank you.
Ms. Lemoyne, I think we're ready for pictures. So we're going to ask the 25-year group, thank you, to come up here for a picture.
Height in the back, very tall. Maybe back a little bit. Walk or. Bring her. I'm good. I was like getting in between. No, good. Do your best. Okay, I'm gonna have you. Can you maybe move 2 over to this or 1 over to this side? Thank you. Missing out a couple. Perfect. Thank you all. Congratulations.
Hold on 1 second. Sorry. Hold on. Thank you.
You guys stay, Mary.
Oh, one
We're going to have the retirees come up now. You get to be in both pictures, man.
You know, it's close.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Security spectator. That's real.
Yeah, you're young at heart, so that doesn't count. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Is that it? Done well.
All right. Congrats.
That looks a little floppy over there, right? You gotta put it back.
Alex, you're not supposed to run out of film.
I know.
Oh. Dinner. Come back to it. Thank you. Not for the moment. Oh, I know.
I love the little kid. One guy. He's so cute. I like this kid. With like a coffee and look at those two. I like this kid. The one that comes with the other with. Like the one like Jesse or something. She goes, but once I walked out, they were like, they look really cute. I like the comfy one. They're like, we're talking Dr. We're telling Dr. Sears that he will Dr. Sears. Like, I'm going to hire him for my event.
Hi. I'm Mary.
Hi, Mary. Bye. Bye.
Right?
They did.
Oh, they did.
But,
Okay. Always great to recognize the people that make this district special. They're part of the fabric. Each one of them are part of the fabric of why this district is the best, large, small district. Very small district. Yep, good way to describe it. That's what we are. Great community school district. So, it's happy. And again, I'll echo Dr. Zir, the 20-year, when I was signing the certificate, just blown away by how many teachers were in that 20-year category. And again, knowing many of them because they came around the same time my kids were just starting in the schools. It was just made me think about all those people who built this district up over that period of time and how great at all those levels, each of those teachers have become. 25 years is a long time.
Yeah, and the longevity speaks a lot to the district itself and its culture. So when you start getting those, obviously those 20-year folks, we'll see them here in 5 years, or maybe in another setting. Because if there's 53 of them, we may have to relocate immediately.
Sounds like a lot of long-term subs. In any event, no, we appreciate all their dedication and time with our district. Okay, item 4 is public comment. I believe there are no public comments, so we'll move on to item 5, which is revision and adoption of the agenda. Are there any items I'm aware that I can remove legislation committee? Is there any other items that anybody's aware of that they'd like removed from the agenda? Not. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented with the removal of item 10, legislation committee. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Ms. Melendi. Can we have roll call?
Mr. Gentry?
Yes.
Mr. Aaron?
Yes.
Mr. Troy?
Yes.
Mr. Quagliano?
Yes.
Mrs. Melendi?
Yes.
Mrs. Nairino? Yes. Mr. Craddy?
Yes.
Okay. Agenda is approved. Item 6 is curriculum and instruction. Mr. Guerin.
Thank you very much. 6.1 is the Wellness Committee update. Dr. McCrindle.
All right, good evening. Tonight we are excited to share, there we go. An update on our Wellness Committee. As you know, each year we have our Wellness Committee meetings, and our focus as a team has been to help improve the health and students and staff of Huntley by assessing the overall school health environment, the programs, the policies, and then also to identify some ways to strengthen them. This last year, we took a different spin on the Wellness Committee and really worked hard to identify some focuses as a group within 3 different areas. And this really came off of coming out of the pandemic this last year. We know that there's been a toll on our students and staff, and so we want to continue to provide that support to both our students and staff. So you'll see that we'll have a little update on the student and staff physical wellness, which is a normal part of our committee focus. We also have a focus on the nutrition and education for students, but then the new area is that student and staff emotional and mental health. So this year, in order to meet the needs of all of our students and staff, we did form a large collaborative team. It included a variety of representation from schools and district staff, including building administration, some of our PE staff, the health office staff, human resources, special services, learning and innovation, the food services team, and then the communications team as well. Through the work of our group, we created a multi-year plan. And so this year, the focus was to really identify those 3 key areas for wellness to focus on from now and into the future. We also conducted a scan of the current reality of what's currently going on. And we have so many great things going on in our schools and in the district that connect to wellness. And we wanted to make sure that we could understand what those were and highlight those and begin to make sure that we're meeting the needs of all of our students and staff. We also took a large focus on our student and staff social, emotional, mental health. Like I shared before, coming out of the pandemic, we know that our students have needs, and we also know that our staff do as well. And we think that that is important and essential to support all their needs. And then we began to brainstorm on some goals for the next school year. Next year, what we hope to do is, first of all, grow the team. This year, you'll see that the representation was mainly from the administrative side. Part of that was due to the fact that our teachers, it was difficult to get that group together throughout the school year with our subbing issues and after school and just lots of different things like that. But we really hope to have their voice at the table as well as additional staff. We also know that there are a lot of different teams that meet within our buildings, including our PST teams, our PBIS teams, our Orange Frog teams, and we want to try to connect those to what the Wellness Committee will be moving forward with in the future. We also strive to communicate more the progress that we're making and to highlight all of the great things going on and what we've done to support our students and staff. And then we'll continue to monitor our progress and revise and add to goals in the future. And then in the future, we'll keep those focuses as a consistent plan. So what we thought we would do was just highlight some of the positives of what we've seen in some of our buildings. And in your board packet, you'll see a very in-depth example of some of the accomplishments that are going on. But the first highlight that I'd like to share is with our student and staff physical wellness. If you remember, prior to the pandemic, our PE team, K-12, went through a curriculum review. And part of that review was in K-5 in PE, they started to hone in on having a spiral curriculum, which means that students, instead of just doing one unit on jump rope and then being done, and then moving to soccer, and then being done, and moving to running, they spiraled that throughout the year. And so they've been able to actually implement that this year with their students, and there have been many great positives with that. And so Mr. LeBar over at Conley actually put a short video so you can hear from a couple of students about what that has meant to them.
Okay, ladies, so what do you think is the best advantage of PE of doing a unit 3 times a year instead of just once a year?
I like doing it 3 times a year. I like it separately so you don't get rusty if you just do it like the first 3 weeks of school and then you have to wait like a whole year to do it in 5th grade or years coming. And I also like it because if you do it separately, you can improve on your skills and you have more time to practice.
I agree with Brooklyn because I think
if you do it just once a year for a couple of weeks, then you might forget next year or the year to come, and you won't really know what to do, and you might not be as good as it.
I think it's changed this year, and it's better because in the past, like, we only have like the push-up test like once a year, and that was the final score, and like we'd only have like one sit-up test, one sit and reach test. But this year we've had it like in fall, winter, and then we had it again in April. So the first 2 times for 5th graders is just a test for the big one, like the kind of state one, and it helps. It does help you practice, because my test, I got better each time, and it really helped me improve. Like, my push-ups were way better now than they were back in fall.
I love PE because when we like do like a mile run, after that they're just like, now we can like do games for the rest of the year. And then we just do fun games, and then sometimes once in a while we'll go and do exercise, and then we'll do games, and then exercise, and then games. It's just really fun. They're really nice. And yeah, I just really like it. That's like my favorite special.
That we get to learn a bit more than what we did last year. Because last year we only did like 3 weeks of stuff, and then it was done, waiting for the next year, and we could get a bit rusty. So doing it like every now and then helps us get better.
So what I love about PE this year is the teacher that I have, Miss Brzezinski. She's really awesome. She makes everything really fun, and I just want to thank her for making this year really fun. And then we also get to play many new games that Miss Brzezinski and Mrs. Schmicker spend a lot of time making. So again, I want to thank them for that, for making really fun games for us and making PE awesome. And they also are keeping us in good shape by doing cardio day, mile run, push-up tests, sit-up tests, sit and reach tests, and I just really want to thank them for that.
I love to hear our students excited about their curriculum, and especially thanking their teachers on this Teacher Appreciation Week. At the 6-12 level, they've continued using their heart rate monitors and being able to set individualized, personalized goals throughout their curriculum, and they're continuing to make some forward steps on that so that they can monitor their own progress as students in PE. The other piece I wanted to highlight was nutrition. Mr. Reed and his team just started over at Conley and Martin Elementary a recycling event that happens every day during lunch recess. And so students, leaders have helped support their own students in how to recycle what we would want to throw into landfill or recycle in liquids. And they're training their own students and they're monitoring it, and it is running great. And Mr. Reed just started that up, I think, in the last couple of weeks. And they also have a share table to be able to donate any of the produce that they might not be using, so then we can make sure that we are giving back and not just, creating more waste. At the ECC, our little friends over there, they learn about nutrition every day. We provide snacks every day to them, and their nutrition options include some fruits and vegetables. And you can see on these pictures, they're doing some sorting and counting with the fruits. So that's happening in our youngest learners. When we look at student social and emotional and mental health, we have a lot of great things going on as well. This video, and it'll just play while we're going, shows a little bit about what's going on over at Chesapeake. They do some dance parties outside, where this is actually Mrs. Henson doing the chicken dance with all of the students over at Chesapeake. And they're trying to keep that positivity going and keep their excitement. In addition to that, Mrs. Henson has challenged her staff to create positive sticky notes and affirmations for students on their desks so that students feel and know what their teachers appreciate about them, which helps their positive outlook on school. Over at Midhaven, they have been, for many years, including an SEL lesson bank, which their teachers use on a consistent basis to identify different texts that they could read with their students connected to the SEL standards. There are lessons included, there are videos, and they're all arranged by the goals of self-awareness, self-management, and teachers have some that they must do based off the time of the year, and then others that they can choose to do based off the needs in their classroom. Over at Heinemann Middle School, something that they've been doing a lot in PE is focusing on mindfulness activities. And so there's a picture of them taking that time to focus in on thinking about how can I get myself in my mind in the right framework for learning. And then at the high school, of course, the introduction of our therapy dog for our students so that they can go and, when needed, uplift their own spirits and make sure they're in the right spot at school. When it comes to staff wellness, over at Marlowe this last week, they actually had some masseuses there to help provide some self-care for their staff, which allowed them to take a break and during their plan times and calm down and get back in the right mindset. And then over at LeGee, the Huntley Happy, the Orange Frog, has been going all year long. Mr. Iddings has done a great job of creating opportunities for his staff to actually go, we call them Joy Bomb, which means go to another school and create a lot of excitement and happiness there in other buildings throughout the school year in each of their institute days. And then something that Dr. Del Castillo is kind of overseeing with the RAD committee in February, they had a whole showcase about just wellness, and it was recognizing our local businesses around, and it was focused on women empowerment, and there was a focus on that wellness component. As we continue, Mrs. Romero and her team are continuing this focus with the Orange Frog. And the goal of Orange Frog is to create that culture and environment where social emotional learning can thrive with our students and staff. And so this year, if you remember, our training began with the administrative team. And next year, Mrs. Romero and her team are going to be rolling that out to all of our staff to kind of keep that hashtag Huntley Happy going. And we're very excited about that. So those are just a few highlights from what you can see and many other accomplishments throughout the year in our board packet, but we're excited to continue this focus and hone in on those three main areas and make sure that we are meeting the needs of all of our students and staff from that wellness perspective. So if you have any questions, we're able to take those.
Questions from the committee? Or anyone else? Mr. Troy?
I was going to let the committee go first, so if there's anyone else wants to go first.
You're in the committee.
Or not. So on that wellness committee, is that something that we would include students in down the road, parents? Because I've read that wellness policy, and I know it's part of that triennial state required review. It's just that this year it just didn't happen that way. So is that something for down the road then?
Yes, it is. And so one of the steps that we have for next year is to really build up that student and some parent voices as well with the committee in addition to staff and admin.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I just had two. This is a great presentation. Thank you very much for it, and to everyone on the team. How often are the therapy dogs at the high school? Is there a set schedule for them? Or?
I'm going to allow Dr. Buell.
So we actually have an agency that we have worked with to bring in the dogs, and they're not there on an everyday basis. When they first started, first semester, we had them there on a more frequent basis. We call them paws in pods, and so they travel from our different pods, so it's a different location within the building where students knew, and we would advertise, but it was like a Tuesday, Thursday, and then the winter came, and Simon, who is our dog, went to Florida. A little sun, rest and relaxation. Simon is now back from Florida, so he's easing back in, and so we hope to kind of go strong between now and the end of the year.
Okay, so for next year, will Simon continue to work with the high school, or is this a program that has worked really well where we might look at bringing in a second dog or having the dogs in more often? I know that most students, whether it's, pre-K all the way up, the kids tend to really react well to the dog. It's very therapeutic and it is,
They do, and a lot of the discussion that we have had, even at the high school, and I know with our special services department here at the district office, is figuring out the best way to have that work within our building. The agency that we currently work with, we teamed. To be honest, I'm not sure how we came across the contact. I know it did land in Dawn Nessie, who's our drug and alcohol counselor, has had some contact, and so we were able to kind of set a little bit of that up, and we've been working with her. So this agency just had that availability of time and could come as often as necessary because she lives in the community. So we'll continue to vet it out and see how it can best work to support our students' needs.
But to answer your question, we don't have a specific comprehensive plan as a set schedule. It's more of, my understanding is designed as an occasional mix it up in terms of therapy and ahead of finals, ahead of AP testing like this week. So our student support in terms of in counseling and mental support, mental health is a different approach where the therapy dogs aren't a part of the plan on a consistent basis. Like I said, it's more of a case by case on occasion.
Correct. And we also were utilizing this opportunity over the course of this year just to gather data as well. How many students are coming in? When are they typically coming in? How frequently are they targeted towards a specific students? And so we had our clinicians in each of our pods just kind of check in, our administrative assistants that work in our pods, just kind of keeping a little bit of that data just to see if this is beneficial and if we should really look to bring this in a full scale. Because while it sounds great, right, like everybody wants to hop on that bandwagon, we just want to make sure that it's not just an additional thing, but that it's actually making an impact for kids.
absolutely. I think I have one more question, Stephen. QPR. So I actually attended my training last night, and so I know it says, we're implementing that at the high school. Do we have an opportunity, and I remember pre-COVID, there was an opportunity for teens to take that QPR 1 hour training. It's the same course, but is that something we could open up? Because, it's really, the lessons that I learned in that yesterday were really valuable, and some key takeaways were really, making it okay for someone to be honest about the thoughts and their feelings that they're having, and then you being prepared for an answer you don't want to hear. Nobody wants to hear that somebody's like, yeah, I'm really having some bad thoughts. So, but is this something we can open up if students are interested? I know we have the Hope Squad. Have they been through that?
Yeah, so QPR, which is Question, Persuade, and Refer, is a training that we implemented this year, kind of on a full-scale basis with just our freshmen, and we do it in our PE classes, so the PE classes then go down to the PAC, the PAC, and get this training, and it's an hour training that helps them understand the signs to be able to look for when they either see their friend or hear some struggles that their friends are having, and giving them, they get a little card that kind of walks them through the steps of what they need to look for and how to refer them to someone should they need some support. It saved lives already from students who were having some challenges just by going through it. It was a challenge for us to do it at the high school last year, because typically we have to wait, once we lose a student to suicide, we have to wait a full year from that time before we can actually implement that training. So it's always been a conversation. We reached out to them after we lost a student back in October of 2020. So we wanted to make sure that we implemented it at the right time, and so we're hoping that as students come into the high school, every freshman class will go through that training, and so we'll scale up each year. It's just hard to do it on a full scale, but we have a captive audience at the freshman level to do it each semester that they are in PE.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you very much for that presentation, and we'll move on to 6.2, the Community Partnership Grant. Dr. Rowe.
All right, so this is a really exciting moment for us. We learned about the Community Partnership Grant as an offshoot of the American Rescue Plan back in the fall, and jumped on the opportunity to apply these designated dollars that were related to student mental health and social emotional wellness, as well as bridging the gap in terms of learning. So we applied for the grant, and kind of it was a very rapid deployment in which the grant came out, and then it was delayed. And then we found out that we were actually awarded this grant and had the opportunity to put together our plan as to how it would be, we would spend those dollars and apply this and impact the district. So we were awarded $635,000 over 2 years to impact these areas. Year one, $323,000, and year two, a little over $311,000. Put together a plan and kind of view it as an umbrella grant to focus on student mental health and college and career readiness. So how we're planning on implementing this unique opportunity is in a number of different areas that I wanted to highlight for you this evening. And you'll hear more about them as we unroll our planning. Step number one is implementing AVID at the middle schools. Now, AVID is a very structured and intensive college and career readiness program that focuses on study skills and a pathway for students to learn how to be successful in the school environment. And it is a very comprehensive plan that is rooted in research and best practice, and is something that we've been interested in for a number of years. It just hasn't been able to be the time. Well, this just gave us an opportunity for that implementation. With that, AVID requires an administrator to oversee that program at the district level. And that's something that really got in the way of implementation. And where does that live? As you know, we're leanly staffed administratively, and it is a major addition to do this. So we partnered. We took the opportunity to take that requirement and add the administrative support within the grant, that then after 2 years will then absorb as a district for its continuation. And it will oversee the AVID program. It's going to have this person, once they're hired, will have the ability to plan the implementation at the middle school and oversee that implementation, and then run the program for us. But they'll also take on grant management on a larger scale, which is something that we've been more and more involved in the last couple of years, and we've had the opportunity, especially with the addition of these federal dollars, managing what's coming from the federal government is quite a monumental task, as some of you know very intimately. Next, we're going to implement our college and career platform. You'll see a presentation next month, I believe, on SchoolLinks. SchoolLinks is a college and career pathways platform that we'll be looking to implement, that we're very excited about. They're a tremendous partner, and are doing some great things that start in the middle school and help our students kind of plan what their path in high school can be based on some interest inventories, as well as connecting with the 7 pathways that you heard about a couple of months ago. And then finally is adding what we're calling a living room behavioral wellness initiative at the high school. And this concept of this living room at the high school is a social, emotional, and support area at the building that will be outfitted with a social worker or a counselor that will oversee that area. So we'll use this area in terms of students that just need a place to stop by for a check-in, having a tough moment in the day, rather than making an appointment with a counselor or social worker. It'll be our transition area back into the building following the suspension. We'll be able to do a better job of circling back the behavioral wellness and supports from a student working their way back into the building, or students that are returning from hospitalizations where they spend some time in an outpatient or even an inpatient back into the school environment. That's a process that it needs the intensive support. So we have a grand vision of what this can be in terms of daily support, and as well as ramping up to more intensive supports for our students at the high school level. And this grant is giving us the opportunity to really kickstart this, and then we'll absorb those things back into the district in a couple of years, which we're prepared to do. So with that, I'll open the floor to any questions that you might have. Dr. Schlichter and Dr. McCrindle and Dr. Del Castillo have worked very hard on this, as well as Mr. Altmeyer, in terms of bringing this community grant to us. So, any questions?
Any questions from the committee?
Just a little clarification on the AVID. Is that like a commercial product program, or just a little more color on that?
Yeah, so it's not like a program, like an online platform, so to speak, but it's a learning system that really focuses on the skills that are needed for college and career readiness. So it's sort of like it's a curriculum that it's very deep training. So in the grant, what we're putting in is it's very structured. So they've got research that says this is the way to do it, train this many people, do it in this order, and then students would take AVID as an elective class. And so it's really interesting because when we speak to folks at different schools about AVID, a lot of people come out of the woodwork and say, oh, my daughter went through AVID middle school and high school, right? And that's something that really kind of lifts them up and gives them skills. It's also something that really it's just good skills. It's the same skills we hear in our HOWLs, from our Chamber of Commerce in terms of what's needed for college and career readiness. And the concept of AVID is that will spread through the school building. So even students that aren't taking the elective would experience some of those same study skills, college and career success skills throughout the building and throughout their classes. So it's really a little bit of a culture shift and a culture building block.
Okay.
But it isn't it's a commercial program in the sense that it's built based on research. And we purchase some materials from them, but it's really a system that we'd be buying into.
And that's available, like here, as a high school person, you could take it in a year, basically?
Well, it's available actually at the middle and the high school level. There's even some pieces for elementary as well. But essentially, it's an elective that a student, like at high school, Dr. Rowe and I actually years and years ago went and I think it was Hampshire High School, right? Students would take the elective every year if they wanted to, and it would build progressively.
Okay.
It really links to their other classes, helps them collaborate around success in math or, whatever other class they have. Many students in districts that can scale it that way, they would stick through it all the way middle school through the end of high school, just taking those electives every year.
Nice.
Our plan, though, is this will only be in the middle schools to begin. In high school, long-term plan, definitely, but right now, focus on middle school to get it off the ground, and then roll it to high school eventually.
Yeah, I think probably sooner the better, I think, and something like that.
Probably, it's about capacity to do so, in terms of all the things that building already has going on, but we will see dramatic benefit, and our students will testimony. Some of our principals have shared that their children have gone through it in other districts and have been extremely pleased with the training and gave.
Any other questions?
I have a quick question about the living room. I really like that idea. I think it's going to be very helpful for our students. The social worker, is that somebody that's already on staff, or are we going to be hiring a new position?
The grant will pay for that position for the first 2 years, and then we would absorb that position after the September 24th.
So that social worker would just be assigned to the living room where they'd stay, and throughout the day, if somebody needed to come in, they could. And
so the reality of how we're envisioning this is from this, because when the grant was delayed in terms of delivering the plan, we didn't have the ability to do this in January with you like we originally had planned to do so. So we're behind in terms of planning and implementation. There's some outfitting of the room that the high school is going to need. There's some furniture, some planning of implementation of the program itself. So we'll have an employee, the counselor social worker, they'll start the year and work out the kinks before it's wide open. So it'll be a kind of a soft, slow start, but then that employee would be dedicated to this space and then can be a part of the general high school student support team to pitch in and offer what they're seeing and how, in terms of monitoring the success of students that are transitioning back in, some of the areas that they're trying to intervene following suspensions, or in terms of repeat offenders or students that have dealing with school anxiety and have hospitalizations. monitoring that, you need people to do that. And as you know, like I said, we're leanly staffed, and this is going to be someone that can dedicate to that wellness side of the house to give us a new layer that is emerging. Like, this is not a local idea. I stole this one from a colleague who's doing it and is in year one of doing it and finding a lot of success. So it's one that we're excited about. I think our high school is going to embrace.
Yeah, I really like the idea. Thank you.
I want to piggyback on that question. Initially, then, will the living room only be open to students that have been identified, or what, or will it be open to all students?
It'll be open to all students. The details of how that'll work is what we have to build. And we not knowing the specifics of what we were going to be able to put in the grant and the final dollar amounts, those are details that have yet to happen in terms of, how many students can we handle at one time? How do you check in? How do you do this and not be in class when you need to be in class? So there will be processes that we have to build. So, but one of the benefits of a person that is not tied to necessarily serving IEP minutes or a caseload is they can handle like recurring groups of general ed students that maybe have a struggle socially that is kind of a common theme, and they can build a schedule in over lunch with some kids and support them in a way that maybe their counselors aren't finding time because of the size of their caseloads, to students that are coming back from, like I said, a hospitalization or a suspension, of how can we work you back into the system and then support you for a number of weeks. We have aspirations of getting to the point where even a suspension, a deferred suspension plan of certain situations where maybe a counseling might reduce the length of that consequence if you agree to engage in the why and helping figure out how to overcome the triggers and what caused that. So there's a lot of ideas swirling. We have some construction. That's why I didn't want people to, I say construction meaning building the program. I didn't want people to jump to the conclusion that we're ready to flip the switch on this. This is probably going to be a late September, October kind of, we'll open the doors into a soft start, but we're ready to get moving on posting and hiring the position.
Thank you.
Any other questions from everybody? All right, then we'll move it over to the Finance Committee and Mr. Quagliano.
So that one is our payables, and we have Salm has been chatting today. Good to have you. Good to have you today. So, any questions concerning the purchase orders, impress checks, accounts payable, disbursements that are listed? No. Any of the members, any of the rest of the board? Not, we will move that forward to the board for approval. Item 7.2 is the monthly fiscal updates. Speak, Ms. Salm.
Yep, I actually don't have anything to add, but I can take any questions if you have any.
Okay. So the updates are relatively light. Talking about propane, okay, propane buses, we've got lined up $4,000 per bus, right? So that seems that's pretty solid, right?
I can't even comment on it. I'm not sure where he's at with that.
Okay.
I know he's working through it. How assured we are of getting that?
We're not 100, but we're just working on it. Okay. Yeah, it's a ton other than getting ready for fiscal year end closes and various year end reports. I know June 30th comes fast. Yeah, you can hardly wait. I know. So is there any questions concerning those monthly fiscal updates from the committee? Fine. We have our activity fund. Assuming no questions there. Fine. So then item 7.3 is our revenue and expenditures report. You'd like to talk?
A couple comments on the executive summary and the dashboard. Just reviewing the executive summary, we continue to track within budget. However, looking at health insurance, we did experience our highest claim month in March at a little over $1 million. However, we still are tracking within budget for health insurance,
Right.
and our April claims have come in, and they have it's come down, it's at about
So is it-
850,000,
Okay,
looking a little better.
850 is still a pretty good number. It's pretty substantial, so, okay.
I don't have anything specific on the dashboard. I am currently working on closing the month of April, and once that's done, Mark and I will work together on preparing a forecast, so we can kind of get a better idea where we're going to finish the year, and he'll be sharing that with you. I can take any questions.
Okay, yeah, I'm not seeing anything that's, like you said, the employee benefits are still, in spite of that spike, they're still within decent parameters. Their purchase services are slightly over, but that's because they're usually front-loaded, so we'll be good there. Supplies and materials are doing really well, but that's where we pick up a lot of expense, I think, at the end of the year. So that, and then the same thing with our capital outlay and the other things. So I just, like you said, in general, budgetary-wise, we're still kind of tracking okay. Does anybody have any questions concerning the operating results? That, it's funny. Thank you for pinch hitting today. Appreciate it. We'll move on to item 8, which is HR. Mr. Gentry.
Okay. So item on the agenda is 8.1, monthly human resource update. Dr. Zier.
Yeah, and just a few updates for the board. We continue to kind of get ready to staff 22-23. Last 2 weeks, we've been very successful in the recruiting trail and getting some new hires in at multiple buildings. So very happy with that. And hiring managers have been very busy with interviews. So it is competitive out there. That's for sure. You'll call someone and they'll want to call you back the next day, and it's usually, they've got a couple of offers on the line. So haven't experienced that the last 2 or 3 years as much as I have this year. So local districts definitely competing for the employees out there. Real quick on House Bill 1167, that was going to return sick time to staff for this school year. Just some rough numbers. We've received those requests from staff, and it looks like it's impacting approximately 330 employees, and over 1,500 sick days have been requested to go back into accruals. And the quick data pull I did today, most of that sick time was January. So we knew we were struggling in January when we came back from break. But when you start pulling it all together and you look at the folks that were out for the COVID reason, it stayed open. So just put it that way. It was good, but we had a lot of people out, but that's where most of the days are going back in that time period in January. Obviously, we had some larger quarantines when the rules were a little bit different back in the fall, but when you actually start getting that data in and sifting it through it, it's very interesting. So it is a timely process to do that. We have to go into everyone's what we call e-time cards. Those are the favorite thing for the principals to do, e-time. They love that. So for every request, we open up their cards throughout the entire year to make sure we're giving back the correct time. We have to make sure folks are vaccinated, and then they also have to have evidence of their isolation or quarantine. So we're about 25% through the requests at this point. Hopefully we'll get them done in the next couple of weeks.
All right, so restoring those sick days in general will not generally cost us directly money because they usually save these and use them as currency in the TRS system.
Correct.
It would only cost us if they actually were using them.
Right.
Correct.
So, but we will have, we had to go back and pay folks also if they didn't have those accruals. So if they had unpaid days, that's the one that, it's not a large list, but we are going back through that. We want to be accurate, not only on the sick days, but for the unpaid. So that is the one that you would see the real live money costing the district, but you're right in terms of, the currency with the sick time. Where you see that later is when it's used, and we would need a sub and so on. So.
Right.
That's it for any updates from me.
All right. Any other questions or comments from anyone? Okay, if not, we will move on to building and grounds, Mr. Troy.
All right, thank you. Item 9.1, Mr. Rinkowski, good to see you again today. Or O&M updates, anything huge to highlight on here? I know there's always good stuff.
One, just to update the board, since I wrote this, I have a fourth School Business 101 that's been approved to go in the pipeline for recording to help ISO archive and train new people. Our EV bus, electrical infrastructure RFPs were opened. We had 3 responses, and 3 different lists of optional opportunities to go along with the base proposals that are going to make it a real deep read, and we're scheduling first interviews with all providers next week. We've just gotten word a few days ago that the buses are coming in November, and I'm very nervous that we may not be prepared for that.
Charging station.
To have them charged, so we're going to have to get creative. There's such thing as a portable charger that might not be available apparently. So I don't know, we've got to move very quickly on this, and to get 4 chargers installed to be able to charge them.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first interview with these parties is next week. I'm not sure how it's going to roll out, if we're going to be prepared to bring something to the board, but if we possibly are, you might see an action item on later May. I'm not really optimistic that will happen, but we might have to call a special meeting as soon as we find out, so we can try to keep this thing moving. I actually have the plans and specifications on my desk for the asphalt paving to go along with it, and I'm sitting here scratching my head, and what do I put on the paper for construction timeline? Because the electrical has to go underground first.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to know the layout for how to put the concrete islands in to rough in the electrical and tell them how to pour the concrete. So a lot of challenges ahead. That's my #1 project right now.
It's a nice summer project.
Along with all the other summer projects.
Most of my peers now award their bids for a summer on the prior summer. So I've talked to the Transportation Department about the idea of possibly doing construction in the late fall. It's very risky if you have a rainy fall, because we're going to have to dig in the ground pretty deep.
Yeah, we get it all spring, so we're up with the water being expensive. It's all coming right now.
Thank you, guys.
We're due for a drought.
One other thing I want to point out to the board, and not the last thing, if I forget. I did put a different kind of a look at a solar array dashboard as a question for committee chair. And so I'm just curious to know if you like what you see. I will tell you that there's the first page of that summary is just a total dollar to date, January 1. But then as you look at each campus's summary, those bars represent dollars saved. That is not kilowatt hours produced or carbon deferred. That's dollars saved. And that's why you see different bumps in the road there with the value of what was saved, because in the summer, you have to remember, we have summer break. And so the buildings, if they're not operating, we're not consuming the solar directly. Our savings is not as great as if we would have been consuming. So that's why you may see some summer periods when you would think the solar's producing more and we should have gained value. And we did, sell it back to the grid, for sure, but the value to us is also includes the value of when we're actually consuming and deferring the cost of having to pay distribution and transmission charges. So we're deferring, that's a big deal. That's like 65% of our electric bills that we're deferring when we do that. That's why the numbers are different. So I'd like to get some feedback to see if that's a satisfactory view.
Presentation.
We chose to put I think was it 6 months in the bar graph there? No, we actually did more, didn't we? We did fit it all in.
Yeah,
we did fit it all in.
Right.
I don't know if it's going to get too busy at some point, but we'll just keep plugging it in there until you tell me it's too busy.
I'm totally good with it, but I also defer to other people on the board if they have an opinion.
No,
I'm open to it.
I'm good with the cumulative number that's presented at the start. It's helpful and interesting, and then the monthly basis, the bar is perfectly fine. And he might start getting a little tighter, to have some periods, and then he'll just, I mean, how many months he got here, and, you know, probably the max he'll ever get is 2 years on there, and that's okay.
Yeah, after time, you may end up going to a non-visual version with just the numbers on it, and then we'll see the peaks and the valleys.
I give you a once-a-year deep look or something.
Yeah, but for now, this is just fine.
The only other thing I want to mention is, the last 2 days have been very productive at the IASBO conference, and I've learned that, there is a tariff that's now available for energy, a program or energy storage on site, now an available opportunity. What boggles my mind is there's still not an opportunity for vehicles to grid. It doesn't really make sense because they're kind of the same concept. You have batteries on site, you're storing and discharging power at different times. So, as soon as the vehicle to grid or the electric bus charging concept is over with, that looks like it'll be a new, you can take it easy, an opportunity for us to complement our solar. So we can just become more truly independent.
All right. Anything else on the updates, or that's good?
That's it.
All right. Thank you very much. Any questions from the board on O&M updates? All right, hearing none, I will turn it over to keep moving forward.
All right, on to item 11, Board of Education. We have minutes prepared for March 3rd, March 17th, April 21st. Any questions or concerns related to those minutes? If not, we'll move those forward to the board for approval. Just take 2 seconds here under this Board of Education to just quickly, Mr. Troy was there with me at the co-op mock interviews last Thursday, right?
Yes.
Last Thursday. And so just a very, and I know many of the administration was there. It is one of the great events in the district, working with the kids, and being able to interview. We do 4 different interviews that last anywhere from 20 to 25 minutes with these kids. Always impressed with how Paige has worked with them throughout the year to really work on their communication skills. I mean, every year, they're fantastic. I can tell you, interviewing people several times a year in the workplace, these kids do better than most of the adults I come across.
Yes, I would concur.
Yeah, so I think these kids do a great job. They have a lot of poise, how they carry themselves through this process. He does a fantastic job with that program. Dr. Beelan, I was just going to point out, so the only thing that was slightly disappointing from this is the number of kids that are involved in the program right now. This program was significantly larger in years past. And I know it's taken a hit with the COVID years and stuff like that, but I just wanted to throw out, just encourage the high school to really, because I find that program to be fantastic, and trying to see if we can get a few more kids involved in that, because I really see that as a worthwhile program that's run there.
In some respects, it's like a class that every kid should have. Because they're all, at some point, they're all going to go and interview for a position. They all need to have a resume prep. And these kids, I was impressed with the courage that they had, because it's not easy to be 17, 18 years old, come into a room of adults and talk to adults about themselves. It's hard enough for adults to do that, but to do that at 17 and 18, and Mrs. Joshuary conveyed that there was one student that really, it was extremely hard for her to get on the bus and come here and do it, and she did it anyway. And I mean, that just speaks a ton to the character that student displayed in fighting off the nerves and displaying that courage. So I don't know how this is something that we can engage more kids on a broader level in some way, but this was tremendous. This was a really good experience. I've done this several times, not as frequently as I would like, but this was really, really good. So if there's a way to promote it, as Mr. Quagliano said, on a broader level, it's people talk in parents talk about how kids need that finance course, the building blocks for what they're going to need, regardless of where they go into life, and what kind of pursuits they're going to have. This is one of those building block foundational type of courses.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, the confidence that they gain from that process.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, it's invaluable. I mean, I can sense it from all of them after they're done, that it's a really big step that they've taken, and I think they'll all be quite successful.
Yeah, and it's not just the speaking part of it, but it's also all the other prep work, the actual helping of doing the resume, helping to get a cover letter put together, the importance of a cover letter, the importance of a thank you. I got thank you notes from each of those kids, and it was nice to just send a response back and say thank you for the note. And I had a couple kids that even followed that up with another one, because I know, or at least I'm hoping, that I'll cross paths with them at come graduation, and maybe if not hand the diploma to them, but at least see them cross the stage and say, yep, I interviewed that student, I interviewed that student, and there'll be that kind of familiarity and self-confidence, and that's exactly what this program does. That interview session, it helps them to build that self-confidence, and kind of get out of their shell. It's tough at 17, 18 years old. It just is super tough. So I love what this program does.
Okay. 11.2 is our Board of Education meeting calendar.
Yes. So this is obviously an annual thing, so adopt the meeting schedule for next year. I wanted to point out a handful of adjustments to the typical first and third Thursday of each month, just to make sure you're aware. So if you had any questions or concerns, or wanted to do things a little bit different, I could point out and offer an explanation. In October, thankfully, some of the organizations that we're involved in are advertising the dates that they want us to pay attention to. So the LUDA Large Unit District Association that we're very active in has a conference typically in October and then in the spring. So that asterisk in the October 13th date is because that conference is the week before, and it usually pulls a handful of district administrators out of the district for that. So we wanted to be sure to preserve that community of the whole. Obviously, the November 10th, we move up a week because of the III conference that the Illinois State Board of Education, or the Illinois State School Boards Association, and superintendents and business officials put on. And then if you jump down to February, the National Superintendent Conference is the third week, and I'll be involved with a group that'll be presenting there next year. So that'll be one to adjust. And then the March Committee of the Whole is also a LUDA event. So it's a little bit more than we typically have had, but after what we experienced this year and moving some meetings and canceling some, I didn't want to have to go through that again. I want to be a little bit more proactive with our planning. So if you're okay with that, welcome any questions, or can move that forward.
Any comments from anyone concerning that? If we can move that forward to the board for approval in our next meeting. 11.3 is the Raiders Read Together.
All right, so now I'm really excited about this. This brand new learning opportunity over the summer. You may remember many years ago the conversations and the efforts that were put into a summer reading program at the elementary level, partnerships with the library, very extensive work that was put in. And we're taking a slightly different approach. And truth be told, I meet with the HART group, the Huntley Area Administrators Roundtable. And an offshoot of that group is actually the communication directors group from each organization gets together to ensure that the calendars, major calendar events that we all have going on are aligned, and just our communication practices are aligned as a community is one of the very unique, extremely positive things that we've got going. So an initiative of really a week of Huntley celebration where each of the organizations was going to plan something for Huntley Week the first week of August. And they looked at us and asked, okay, what can you contribute? And it's an off period for us. So we're kind of not really active the first week of August. We're preparing for the school year. So we put our heads together and, Ms. Lemoyne and Ms. Lombard and the rest of the cabinet came up with this concept of like the one community, one book concept that has been popular in a number of other communities. So, through their work, they've come up with this Raiders Read Together concept. And so what will be happening is every family in the school district, kindergarten through 8th grade, will receive a copy of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And that will be the book that we as a community will be reading. So it's not a book for every child, but a book for every family, because we want to promote that family reading together. Additionally, we're going to take this a step further and take that parent learning side that we always talk about that we would like to really bridge the gap. And in a bookmark that will be, I believe it's a bookmark that will be added, are some reading strategies that parents can help promote with their students of when you're reading, we think about this, and how can I engage my child as a parent who hasn't been through formal training like we have? How can I engage my child in the reading process to ensure that not only are we enjoying the book together and developing a love for reading in the family, but I can also strengthen their reading skills and give them some tips and tricks to support that. And then ultimately, this will culminate in our Huntley Week contribution, which is it says Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but I believe it's the classic, actually, Willy Wonka with Gene Wilder. And so we're going to have that movie showing out at our Harmony campus out by the high school. We have plenty of space, and invite all of our families that would like to join us for a screening of that movie and some fun to culminate the summer Raiders Read Together activity. How can you be involved in this, you might be thinking? Well, there's an opportunity if you'd like one, because...
How can I get involved?
Right. Thank you, Mr. Court, for asking that question. So we're going to be filming a number of us, some community leaders reading chapters or parts of chapters that will be sent out to the community to accompany that read together, or let's watch the video and watch someone read it to us kind of a thing. So if you're interested, shoot me an email. I'd love to get you on the schedule. If not, no pressure, but come be a part of it with us if you'd like, and hopefully, and contribute to this one book, one community concept of Raiders reading together. So I thank my team for a lot of the work that they put into this. I really, really appreciate it. The curriculum department, but Jessica and Alex put a ton of time and effort into building this plan. We're excited about this. This is going to be a fun event that could culminate and kind of kick off the school year in a really positive way. And what we know that Huntley does best is Huntley does family best. And any initiative that we have where our families can do something together, I expect this to land very positively within, and I hope a lot of our families will join us in making this a fun event that this won't be the last time it's done. There was, I will tell you, a heavy debate on what the book should be.
Oh, I'm sure.
And Ms. Lombard is already lobbying for what next year's book is that she wanted this year. So we'll wait in suspense for another year down the road. But
I can't wait.
We had a serious debate on what the best book could be. But obviously it had to have that right movie to accompany it that could be appropriate not only for kindergartners, but interesting for 8th graders. So a unique challenge, but one that we've had a lot of fun with in the last few weeks.
Can I add one component?
As long as you're not lobbying for a different book.
No. So, Dr. Orr talked a lot about that home connection. We also, that tie with the community connection, is we'll be reaching out to various locations in the community to put posters together where we'll send the kids on a scavenger hunt to find different parts, questions that we ask for that, and then they'll be visiting whether it's like, maybe it's the park district, it could be the library, it could be the dairy mart, it could be the chocolate shop, yes, one of our ideas. So that again, we're trying to get that community kind of partnership involvement in there as well.
That's a great idea. Yeah. That's so cool.
And can you imagine going to Mark's for a golden ticket? Right? Is that right? Perfect. All right. Quality of the challenge is down. If you're watching, here you come.
Great idea.
Yeah. Excellent idea. Okay, on item 12, closed session. So I'd like to make a motion to go into closed session at 7:42 for the items enumerated in the agenda. Is there a second?
It was.
Mr. Craddy seconded. Can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Troy?
Yes.
Mrs. Maiorino?
Yes.
Mr. Quagliano?
Yes.
Mrs. Melendi?
Yes.
Mr. Gentry?
Yes.
Mr. Fuhrer?
Yes.
Mr. Craddy?
Yes.
Julie, how'd you get it? I'm a little off my
What?
game today.
You guys got that on over there?
Yeah, we're on, we're good.
We're on, we're live. Okay, we're back from, closed session. It is 8:30. Can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Craddy?
Here.
Mr. Garrett?
Here.
Mrs. Melendi?
Here.
Mr. Gentry?
Here.
Mr. Quagliano?
Here.
Mrs. Maiorino? Here. Mr. Troy?
Here.
All here. On your way up the stairs. I'll make a motion to, adjourn the meeting at 8:31. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Lundy, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Be adjourned.
Is the party in there?